Okay, welcome to Lab 9. This is the final lab. It's kind of a standalone lab, and you are not going to be pushing the results of this lab to GitHub. I repeat that, you are not going to be pushing this lab to GitHub, because if you do, it will instantly invalidate your AWS instance, because what I need you to zip for me is this file with some information. Now, this has the ARN for your S3 user, but we're going to have a few other components for our S3 bucket. This week, I'm going to show you how to programmatically access your S3 buckets, which are basically like cloud storage. Okay. We're going to be going through some of the settings for permissions. That's going to be the bulk of the S3 setup. Actually, creating a bucket is very, very easy. I am also providing you with a number of different files that will be very useful. There's a minimal amount that needs to be done in the VM. Before we get started with the code for that, I'm just going to go over some of the files that I'm providing for you. So if you go into the Lab 9 folder that I'm providing you guys, you'll see there's a couple of things. There's this anon.png, an S3 front end, and I have a terminal open right now. Now this S3 front end, if I just serve this right now, looks like this. It allows you to select the file. We're going to be uploading photos. However, you could also upload any other file if you just remove the file type checking that we typically have. The S3 backend that we're going to be doing, that helper file that we usually make that's associated with these profile pictures, is going to be different in a couple of crucial ways from what we've done in the past. And we're going to use what's called a dependency manager in order to get the AWS SDK. Now, I referenced an SDK in the previous lab when we were going through AWS, and what it effectively is a collection of APIs or software packages that allow you to interact with different services in a unified way. So, for example, the Android SDK allows you to access Google Maps. You can use Google Web Services, Analytics, Google Authentication, on and on. Those are all separate pieces of software using separate APIs to access different resources. However, an SDK combines all of those into one house, if you will. Okay. So I don't need you guys to make another one of these from scratch, which is why I'm providing you the S3 front end. Now you'll notice perhaps that it has a .html, and that's because there's no PHP in this code whatsoever, so I can keep it as an HTML, and that's not going to be unique. We also don't have that bio text section. The only thing that matters this week is just the photo and the submission button. And I included the bootstrap files up above here, so I didn't pull in the header. If you go back here, you'll see that there is no nav bar or anything like that. It's a very plain looking front end, but it's going to get us where we need to go. Now, there's a couple of differences as well. So you have the normal like triggered and preview sections. However, the name for this one is going to be S3 image and S3 submit. So just keep that in mind when you are going through this and when we're making our actual S3 helper. I have the file name right here, basically keeping everything consistent. So this is where the bulk of our actual programming will go this class. We're going to go through and actually download Composer, and we're also going to go through our AWS bucket setup so we can get started with that, because you're going to need a couple identifying pieces of information about the specific bucket that you're accessing before you can actually get started with the coding. So what we're going to do first is with Composer. Let me just pull up what Composer is. So if you're on Mac and you are not using a VM, I would highly suggest you use this Homebrew formula. If you don't know what Homebrew is, it's basically a package manager for Mac OS, and it's the greatest thing ever. If you ever have to install anything, I recommend doing it through Homebrew. It'll grab all the dependencies for it. It'll automatically update things. It's pretty super. So you would do it this way. If you're on Windows, there is a Windows installer. If for whatever reason you're not using a VM and you have a PHP server and everything going on your Windows machine, there is a composer-setup.exe. I included those links right here. So if you click on this, it should download the composer-setup.exe on there. Now, what you're going to want to do is, assuming for the majority of you who are in the class, you're going to use these 4 commands right here. You're just going to copy and paste them into your terminal, which you're going to open. I already have mine open. I'm in this directory. I'm in the Lab 9 directory, and you're just going to paste them. All right, and then you're going to hit enter one more time because this line did not get executed yet. And you'll notice that another file right here, this composer.far, is in here. Okay, and this is going to install Composer in this directory, and it's going to allow us to use it. We're going to grab all the dependencies in a little bit for the S3 and AWS SDK. But first, we're going to set up our S3 buckets. And the way we're going to do that is on my host machine. I'm just opening up my AWS console right here. I'm signed in as the root user. You can use one of the other accounts if you so choose, as long as they have admin privileges. And we're going to go in our S3 right here. And we're going to go over here and create a bucket. Okay, I don't care about either of these things right here. And you're going to give it an intuitive name. Just keep this stuff in mind right here. It must be unique and must not contain spaces or uppercase letters. So mine is just going to be CS230-S3. And your AWS region, this is basically what part of the country or of the world in some cases your S3 is going to go out of. So they've got all kinds of data farms everywhere. You can choose whatever country if you want to serve it out of Tokyo or Sydney or Frankfurt. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm just going to go with the default, which is in Northern Virginia, which is US-East-1. This is going to be important. So either remember it or you can write it down. We're not going to block all public access. We want people to be able to see it. This is really good for sharing things like presentations or code or pictures, which is the case of what we're going to be doing this time. However, you would not want personal identifying information or credit card information or anything like that that is being stored in an S3 bucket that is meant to be private to be publicly accessible. Now you need to check this box that says that you acknowledge current settings. All right, I just increased the size of this so hopefully people can see this. If you don't, it probably won't let you move forward. We're going to disable versioning. That's fine. And then server-side encryption, we don't need our thing to be encrypted. If you had, again, personal identifying information, credit card information, things like that, you would want to enable encryption of that. And then there's all kinds of other advanced settings that we're not going to get into. Now, you can also have client-side encryption. So this is basically storing the data at rest when it's on the server, when it's in your S3 bucket. To do client-side encryption, that would be things like when a user signs up and they give us a password, we put that through bcrypt, and that encrypts it at the client, at the user's end. And we're just going to go ahead and create this bucket. You may have to get creative with this. Dash 21. All right. Yeah, that worked for me. So just get creative. Remember what this name is. And yeah. We're going to also copy the ARN for this. This is actually relevant. So just click in this little radio button right here, copy that ARN. And what we're going to do is I'm going to put it in my aws.txt file. And I'm going to move that aws.txt file into my Lab9 folder. So as you can see, it's right there. This is going to be my CS230-21-S3. And the ARN, which is the Amazon resource number, is going to be pasted in right there. Okay. So that's it for just setting up the bucket. I'm going to get into the permissions in the next video.